Okay, Mike, so a lot of people have no idea what elder law even means. How would you explain it to people in simple terms without using legal jargon?
Elder law is a specialty. So it's not that, I practice real estate during the day and at night I practice elder law. Elder law is something that I embraced because I'm a nursing home administrator and I have a background in healthcare. So elder law was a natural fit. It's really working with families and individuals with the issues regarding aging. When somebody ages, now aging can be, having a malady at 50 or 60. As people age, there are specific issues, especially legal issues, that come up. What happens when somebody loses capacity or the ability to make healthcare or financial decisions for themselves? How do you afford how expensive long-term care is? What benefits do I qualify for? What happens to my children if they're disabled once I pass away? These are all issues that we come up with every day. So it's a specialty and something that you really need to have a passion for.
What's a moment that families usually come across where they realize that they need somebody like you in your services?
It could be various different ways. It could be a diagnosis. It could be a discharge from a hospital to a medical facility. It could be a death in the family, and now all of a sudden you realize that mom passed away, so now we're realizing that mom was covering for dad, and dad now has dementia, and he really can't live on his own. So they come through different avenues, but they always have a common theme of what do I do next? Yeah. Because people don't really you don't want to really think about your death, dying, and incapacity all the time. So people sort of put it off until all of a sudden it just rears its ugly head, and then people really want to know what are their options.
What's one mistake that you see over and over again, something that families could easily prevent if they just had the knowledge?
Really it comes down to just having the basics. And the basics being a power of attorney, healthcare proxy, living will, and a last will and testament. People don't realize that if they don't have a will, then the state dictates where their assets go. People don't realize that if they don't have a will in New York, then only half the assets go to their spouse, $50,000 plus half the assets, and then assets get split up amongst their children. So just had a call just now with a good friend of mine whose mom died 2 weeks ago, and it's a problem because there is no will, and now all of a sudden dad is going to have to own the family home along with his 2 children, one of which is having some marital difficulties. So it can be difficult if you don't have a will. It can also be very difficult if you don't have a power of attorney. Power of attorney is a financial document that allows people to make decisions when you can no longer make decisions for yourself regarding your finances. When you think about all the things you do every day, you buy things, you do your checking, you do your banking. Well, when you're aging, a lot of times you're having trouble doing these things already. Without a power of attorney, you wind up going to court if you lose capacity or the ability to make decisions for yourself. Then the court decides for you. So all that could be avoided by a very inexpensive, quick, but important document that can be done, right away.
Yeah. So you mentioned nursing homes earlier. What is your experience with nursing homes, and how does that play a role into how you approach your work today?
So I early on, I got my my master's in public health and public administration. Part of that graduate degree was being licensed as a nursing home administrator. So I actually got out of college, and before I went to law school, I was running nursing homes as a nursing home administrator in New York and Connecticut. I actually loved the job. I went to law school at night. And what happened was, when you're running a nursing home, and you're an administrator, you rely on different disciplines like director of nursing for clinical, director of finance, because you still have to pay the bills, administrative, legal, etc. So how that shaped the firm is we very much utilize a multidisciplinary approach. When somebody's aging and they're sick, you really need a clinical person like a geriatric care manager to help with decision making. You always have to pay the bills, and you have to know how much you have. So we partner up with very good financial advisors that can help with that part. CPAs, et cetera. So very much like working in a healthcare facility, we work interdisciplinary with other people. We also, here at the firm, we have weekly meetings where we discuss what the case is. So very much like in a nursing home where you're discussing all of the clients or residents every day, we do the same thing here so that everybody's aware of what's going on. If somebody's sick or on vacation, anybody could stand in.
Yeah, that's good. So what are 3 to 5 things that you would encourage families to get in order right now before they experience a fall, before they experience a diagnosis? What are some important documents or things?
The first thing is gather up your data, because make sure you know where your checking accounts are, your bank, your brokerage account. Make sure you know where everything is. That's the first thing. The second thing, the basic documents, like I stated, the power of attorney, healthcare proxy, living will, last will and testament, vital documents that everybody needs. When my daughter turned 18, I drove down to college and made sure she had her documents done. That's sort of the entree into the legal world, is when you're 18 and you get the basics done. Then, the one thing that I think is important for people is to explore trusts. Trusts come in 2 varieties, irrevocable and revocable. It's not a one-size-fits-all situation. We do a pretty good analysis of somebody, and then we draw right on the whiteboard, and we make sure that people understand the different types of trusts and how they could benefit them. But I think people hear the word trust and they think, oh, I have to be very rich, or I have to have a lot of assets, or I have to be really bright, or there's all these costs associated, all of which are not true. Trusts, I say, are for the very smart, because it's something that's going to benefit you capacity-wise. It's going to benefit you from saving a lot of money on long-term care costs. So not to be afraid of the word, and just to be open to exploring all the things that can be done for you.
Speaking of education and things that you do online, you were speaking about your LinkedIn earlier, and you're talking about the TAP. I feel like a lot of this is very intimidating to a family who is not familiar with working with somebody like you or your firm. I guess what are some things that you can say to a family that they should be understanding when they walk into your office, or if they're walking into a different office? Like, what are some things that they should expect and some things that they should understand?
Well, first thing is they should know whether or not the attorney. They should ask if there's a consultation fee. We never charge a consultation fee here, but they should know if there is a consultation fee or if there isn't. Also, what documents they should bring with them. Like I like them to bring everything, all their prior estate planning documents, a summary of their income and assets, list of children and important people in their lives, what pets they have in case they wanted to care for them after they pass away. For me, the more information, the better. We don't have time limits on how long a consultation is. It can go anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour and 15 minutes, because we really want to dig deep. And make sure they understand. I also, often tell people not to come alone. You come with their spouse, come with a friend. We're going to talk about general things for the most part. So, sometimes people hear only bits and pieces and can understand bits and pieces. When there's more than one person in the room, everybody takes home something, from the consultation. And not to be nervous. We pride ourselves on being real people and very comfortable. It's a comfortable office. We have plenty of candy. We have great snacks, water. It's a very friendly place, and that's by design. So that people are comfortable to come here and talk about the difficult things. Because like I said, we're going to be talking about death, dying, incapacity. Sometimes, how you move around, how you go to the bathroom, these are very personal things that we talk about. So we want people to be relaxed in this type of atmosphere.
Yeah, I love that. So how does TenderCare play a role in all of this, and why did you decide to work with them to begin with?
So I was very excited to be asked to be part of TenderCare. I recognized right away that there are things that could be better in the system with people that are aging. I do get the calls in the middle of the night when someone goes in the hospital or someone gets sick. To provide them their documents, because people don't carry their documents with them. It's a repository, so it's a help to me for my clients to be able to store information, access it right away, has great reminders, but also it just makes sense. It helps people as they age. It's a tool. It's technology, and it's not hard to use. We pride ourselves on trying to be technologically sound, but understand that people, of a certain age have some limitations. It's very easy and intuitive for them to use, and that's the whole point. It brings down the temperature in the room too, because when there's a crisis, the last thing you want to do is start rumbling through papers. And also I'm very proud to be part of a group of people that I know were vetted very well in order to be part of Tender Care. You wouldn't be a partner if you're not tops in your field. So it also is an access point for me to look for other people like myself.
Yeah, I love that. Are there any stories or interactions that you've had that remind you why your work is so important and the thing that keeps you coming back?
Every day, every client. There's everybody has some aspect, that's really important. I mean, just today with that client, a friend of mine who called about his mom, and now his father has an issue, and we do a lot of court work here. I do a lot of conservatorships and guardianships, and although they're difficult, these are people in crisis. The person themselves is in crisis, So to see how the situation can go from not being able to access money, not being able to place somebody where they should be placed, not even be able to get somebody out of a hospital, to then seeing them doing well. And every time a client calls, immediately I ask, how is mom or dad? How are they doing? You know what I mean? And and if sometimes they're calling because they're very excited that things are going well. It's not always bad, but often it's okay. Look, this happened. We had this great plan. Mom or dad fell. Now we need to go to Plan B or Plan C. We always do multiple plans here because when you're dealing with finances and healthcare, both are very unpredictable. Yeah. So you want to be able to go to Plan A, B, and C. And it's always the client's preference. The great thing about my job is I know exactly the person in the room that I'm representing. It's the person, the senior. Mm-hmm. So it's what they want. It's not what their kids want. It's what they want. So it's drilling down to try to figure out what their goals are, and a lot of times we try to start when somebody's younger, so they could state their preferences in their documents, so we don't have to guess. Yeah. People don't realize that these are contracts, so you can say basically what you want in your documents, but they don't know that, so you have to tell them. So we have to ask, what is it that you're looking to do? Yeah. Once people know that they could put money away from their pets, they often are like, really? Like I want to do that. My wife and I love our little Shih Tzu. So, we have a trust for our Gracie. Yeah. You know what I mean? So, but I wouldn't have known that unless this is what I do. Yeah. People don't know what options they have. That's my job.
Yeah. That's amazing. And one last question. What's one thing that gives you hope about the future of aging and elder care?
Technology. I really like the technology that's coming up. A lot of facilities now, when I'm in them, they're showing me that there's technology for when somebody falls, so it can detect when they're going from one level to another. I think AI is going to be vital for people as they age, and I'm aging, so I know when I'm older, AI is going to be a great help to me. Things like Tender Care, that there's just a cutting edge technology that's going to assist people, and especially assist them to remain at home or in a home-like atmosphere. People often a little get nervous when they hear I'm a nursing home administrator because like, oh, you're going to make me go to a nursing home? I'm like, no, not at all. Yeah. The goal is to put you in the correct level of care, not a higher level of care, but the right level of care. So I think that technology is going to be vital in keeping people at home or in a home-like atmosphere.
Yeah, amazing.